Chapter 6. Baseball and Swords. Bond unlocked the door where Wendy was and started to enter the room, and there was Wendy waiting for Bond. She was lying on one of the beds in a robe, watching a baseball game on television. Double O Slaty's mouth opened and his eyes began to close slowly. "Oh, did you hear that? Was that Darling talking in her sleep? Well, I better go check that out. Excuse me." Double O Slaty then ran out the door and briskly walked to the opposite door. However, Bond continued in, then shut the door.
"Now is our chance to have some alone time."
I couldn't agree more. Tell me though, Thibodeau is not exactly planning the next big hotel experience, is he?
"What could you mean? Of course he is. That's why you're here."
Bond smiled at Wendy's answer and then climbed onto the bed next to her. You and I both know there's more. If Thibodeau, and you for that matter, know anything about myself or Daniel, then there must be an alternate reason.
"James, if I may, trust me. There is nothing else. Our famous duo of names was the only reason."
Bond thought about Wendy's beating around the bush game. Game then came to mind as he looked towards the TV to see the baseball game still on. Perhaps we should watch some more of this game. I've always been fascinated by the sport of baseball. We don't have it in England, you know.
"It was not my, or yours most likely, plan of events to do this evening."
Bond, raising an eyebrow, glared at her. He shifted his eyes at the TV once again, and then back to Wendy. Just then, Bond grabbed her arm and pinned her down on the bed.
"James, what are you doing?"
Something I did in a very similar environment, in a very similar way to get information once.
"It hurts."
I know it does. I believe that is the point of this game. Now, what's Thibodeau's real goal?
"An expensive and exclusive hotel."
Bond tightened his grip. That's strike one. What's the real importance of those swords?
"Nothing but a family heirloom. There's nothing else. He has nothing else planned."
Strike two. Bond's grip grew stronger, and then he turned Wendy over. His face grew a stern look, and he raised his hand. Wendy then saw the hand and opened her eyes, as if she had a revelation.
"Avenge Scaramanga and global quakes through wind power."
Bond's face softened, and he lowered his arm. I think you got yourself a home run. What made you want to miss the grand slam?
"Your hand. Thibodeau was obsessed, and he studied Scaramanga thoroughly. Scaramanga's girlfriend, Andrea Angers, once recalled you using similar tactics to get info on Scaramanga's plan."
Well, old habits don't seem to die hard. I'll be back later. He kissed her on the cheek and then left the room. Bond quietly walked down the hallway and found Double O Slaty by an ice machine. I think it was getting a little hot for me in there. Cooling off then, are you? Double O Slaty smiled, and then the two resumed their walk down the halls. They reached the display hall where the swords hung. Much to their surprise, the spies saw that the swords were gone. Why would Thibodeau take his priceless swords out of their case? Given the importance of them, I would not think they should be taken out. Something else is really going on, right, James? I think it has something to do with the wind power or earthquakes. Also, I have a reason that the connection to Scaramanga is bigger than we'd heard. Wind power? Ugh, you mean those big windmill things? I hate those things. How did you obtain this information exactly? It happened between a swing and a miss between myself and Wendy. Double O Slaty backed off a little to what Bond meant. They got closer to the empty display case. Suddenly, sirens blared and flashed. Bond and Double O Slaty looked around, conveniently with their Walthers in hand. The lights dimmed, turning red, and their guns were gone. A thin piece of metal then came across them. They looked around and saw nobody. Bond and Double O Slaty ran back down the halls to their rooms. Double O Slaty approached Darling's room and it was locked. Double O Slaty decided to lift his foot and push down on the door. Bond gave an extra, if not the entire, push. Entering the room, Darling was nowhere to be seen. Bond then ran to the other room to look for Wendy. "Darling, where are you?" He came out of the room, and Bond came out of their room. He mentioned that Wendy had vanished too. "Stay with us, darling. We're coming after you," Double O Slaty said to himself. Just then, the spies felt 2 points against their backs.